Hi everybody, welcome back once again to the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel. Before we kick off with today's review, I just want to thank you once again for your support, continued support for the channel, the fact that you are commenting on the videos, liking, subscribing, emailing me, even if it's something as trivial as I've got this gun in my attic, what is it? I don't know what it is. Send me an email, I'll be happy to help. Right, today's review. Now, we have done quite a few Berettas on this channel. We have done modern ones, we've done 694, we've done old school, we've done 682 Super Sport, and we've also done DT11, which is kind of the current competition thoroughbred mega gun. What we haven't done is the DT10. Now the DT10 has got a huge following worldwide. I've got clients from far and wide that own them from, South Africa, France, Canada, America, Zimbabwe, all over the place. It's one of those guns that if you're a clay shooter, you will certainly have heard about. You may have had the opportunity to shoot one. You probably own one and regretted selling it, because myself, I'm in that category. And it's just a fantastic, fantastic gun. It's got a lot of history behind it in terms of the innovation and where we are today with the DT11. So today we are going to look at a DT10. The DT10 was born 1999-2000, and the reason the gun came about was, at the time, Beretta were manufacturing the ASE. Now the ASE was their competition gun. It was used to devastating effect by a very famous shooter, still shoots here in the UK, Richard Fold, won a gold in Sydney, and I think about 2000, I'm sure it was 2000 to be fair. And the ASE was part of the SO range, so it was kind of an almost handmade box lock in the SO factory. Of course, the SO are the side lock guns. Stay tuned for those because they're coming soon. The problem was it was a fantastic gun, but it was very expensive because of the hand machining and the hand finishing process that went into the gun. So what Beretta wanted to do is they wanted to make the gun more mainstream, more affordable, more accessible, and the result was the DT10. So what they essentially did is they took the mandrels of the DT10, the crossbolt locking mechanism, the detachable trigger group, and the out-and-out competition-ness of it, and they put it into a mass-produced gun. And that is how it became a world-beating competition gun. Like I said, launched back in about 2000, maybe slightly before then, and it bore the kind of the resemblance of the ASE, the final ASE that Beretta manufactured before this took over. Was a grey stone action like the 682 Gold. Check the video out, with a gold cup on it. And again, it was plainish. It was an out-and-out competition gun. You could buy it in trap specification, sporting, and skeet. So this Beretta DT10, plain action. Again, we've discussed it before. The DT11 today is quite similar. Obviously, it's wider profile action. It's got the blue Azori line. But other than that, if you put them next to each other, they're not miles apart. So you've got the crossbolt locking mechanism. You've got the flared barrels where it locks into the top of the action. You've got the big chunky paddle top lever, and the whole thing just screams durability. It's a gun to go out and shoot again and again. Clays 5, 6, 7 days a week. They had a huge following of game shooters also, which I'll come to in a second. So this particular model is a sporter. Now, like the ASEs, these were produced in trap, skeet, and sporting specification. Initially, the skeet guns were all 28-inch floating barrel fixed choke skeet and skeet, and the trap guns were all fixed choke, and both of those variations were non-selective triggers. The sporter, again, hugely popular in the UK from day one. It came out, it was a gun that sat alongside the 682 Goldie, which is a fantastic, fantastic gun. If you've not seen the review, do check it out. And it became the next step for someone that was on the Beretta ladder of love. So this particular one is a 2008, I believe, and throughout the manufacturing, the production process of the first 8 or 9 years of the DT10, from the first days up until this gun, for example, there wasn't really any change in specification. The only noticeable one was aesthetics, and what they did is the very early guns had got like a signature on the side, a P Beretta, and they changed it about 2003, 2004 to block capitals. Locks up really nicely, really positively. Got the big paddle top lever. You've got this stippled effect on the back here, which I really like. Nickel finish action. It's not Nissan like the modern 694. It's slightly before that. Nice bit of gold detailing on the bottom. We've got DT10 Trident, the Trident logo. Got the gold trigger. As with all DT models, detachable trigger. The trigger comes out. Hey presto, easy as you like. And like I said, without sounding like a broken record, in there you've got everything that could potentially go wrong with the gun, hammers, sears, springs, etc. And you can also take it out if you're shooting internationally or you're staying away in a hotel for a weekend. So from a maintenance and security point of view, it is exceptional. Pop the trigger back in, easy as you like. Onto the barrels. Now with the modern day Beretta DT10, we have got Stelium Pro. This was before then, so this was standard steel barrels. Again, all Berettas are cold hammer forged. They're all chromium steel, so they are very, very, very durable because there's actual chrome in the steel of the barrel manufacturing process. So this was Optima board. So we've got 18.6, which is slightly less overboard than the modern DT11. You've got this floating bit here. Now with the skeet gun, the whole thing was floating all the way down to reduce the weight because it was a dedicated Olympic skeet gun. You've got 10x8 tapered sporting rib with extended Optima chokes. Again, not dissimilar to the DT11. We've got coloured bands. These two are 1/4 so we've got yellow and green. And it's a system that's worked for Beretta for decades. So why change it? Standard white bead. Now barrel weight's interesting because obviously they vary slightly. This is a 30-inch gun. I would imagine it's somewhere in the region of about 1470, and it's actually 1460. Never mind, I was close. Engine turning, you've got the serial number on the block, proof marks, etc., etc. Nice bit of grease on it because it's been well looked after. And with this being a 30-inch, the gun actually weighs just under 8 pounds. It's quite a light one, to be fair. So in terms of balance, what we got? Not bad at all, pretty much on the hinge pin. Obviously, as I've been reminded in the past, it changes when you put a cartridge in. From a balance point of view, certainly from a manufacturing process point of view, we always look to find it kind of on the hinge pin. I've been to Beretta factory many, many times, and they have a highly sophisticated balancing thing, which is basically a big pointy stick, and they put it on the middle and see if it balances neutrally. Moving on to the trigger itself, trigger is adjustable. So if you look at a DT11, very, very similar system, apart from it hasn't got the ball bearings. It's a little bit more straightforward. So it's simply a screwdriver, take the screw out, move the trigger backwards or forwards to your required trigger position, put the screw back in and wang it up tight. Selector, now on the trap and the skeet model, like I said, they're non-selective. They will only fire bottom top. With the Sporter, it's selective. Nice and chunky, nice and positive, bit like the big top lever. We like that very much. Again, it just feels solid. It feels like it can just go out and eat clays for breakfast, lunch, and evening dinner. Woodwork-wise, we have got, on this particular gun, a sensational piece of wood. Now, this is interesting because if you look at the specification of most competition guns, DT11s, perhaps the MX8s, Keymans, Gambas, etc., generally, with a competition gun, the remit is not to have nice wood. It's all about the fact you want the wood to be strong, you want it to be durable, you want it to be low recoil. So this is a real nice mix of the fact that we've got really straight through the head. If you watch the channel regularly, you'll know that straight grain wood through the head gives you extra strength. But at the back, we've got this absolutely beautifully figured, richly coloured, really, really nice European walnut, nice dark streaks with a combination of some really, really nutty bits. A bit like some muesli. Right, on the other side, again, we've got the nice stripes. It's a very, very strong piece of wood. It's very nicely matched to the fore end. The checkering, they've continued the style from this into the DT11. It's got this kind of curvy, pointy stuff. Palm swell. Again, we talked about the Beretta DT11 before. The earlier ones have got a big chunky palm swell, which was actually a mistake. They went from this very subtle palm swell to a big one, and they've actually gone back again. So it shows that the mandrels of the DT10 and the features that people like kind of still live on in the DT11, which I think is a nice touch. This one's got a microcore pad on, not standard. Back then they had a standard kind of gummy rubber, quite sticky pad. Obviously, we've moved on from then in terms of recoil reduction and in terms of gun mount, and this just slides into the shoulder a bit better. Schnabel forend, standard on the Sporters. You could get a beaver tail forend no problem, which was supplied as standard on the Skeet and the Trap models. But as a rule, on the Sporter, unless you had a factory adjustable cone, which was the memory system, which was dreadful, it was like a nylon block that exploded on itself if you pressed the wrong button into, well, actually turned the wrong Allen key. But factory adjustables always, for some reason, came with the beaver tail forend. Never understood why, but that's just the case. Now, I mentioned earlier that these were also popular with game shooters. Now, in the same way that the DT11 from its early days of silver and the blue line has evolved into the DT11L. We've done a video on that, check it out, and also the DT11 EE. This was exactly the same. They did the DT10L, which is the L is for Lusso, which is Italian for luxury, and they did a game scene one, and they did a scroll one. For some reason, the game scene one was loads more popular than the scroll one. I think it was because they got the pattern a bit wrong with the scroll. It was a bit too fine. It was a bit too European. Whereas in the UK, we like a bit deeper scroll, like the, Perazzi MX8 SC3 that we looked at. But hugely, hugely popular. You could buy a DT10L Trap, you could buy a DT10L Sporter, and the same in the EE. In terms of a gun, they are just brilliant. What I would say is if you're looking to upgrade your gun and you're a big fan of Berettas and you're thinking, oh, I'd look at a 694, don't discount one of these. Despite the fact that some of these are now a bit long in the tooth, 20 plus years old, they are a fantastic, fantastic gun. The trigger pulls are excellent. They are very, very reliable, very durable. They throw good patterns. They're smooth to shoot. And to be fair, a good DT10 is getting a little bit hard to come by. So if you do manage to get your hands on one, keep it. Moving on to the box, which I always like to look at. This is what I would call the traditional Beretta case that the 682 Goldie, the DT10s, 687 EEs used to be supplied in. So you get 3 locks. We've still got the little red tabs in this one. And inside, got this nice plush velour interior. We've got a choke set. Again, we talked about the colour coding. It's the same. You buy a DT11, you buy a 694. It works. People have got to the point now, if you're a Beretta owner, you know instantly what each colour choke denotes. I can remember shooting years ago, and I actually knew a guy who cut off the coloured bands of his Optima chokes to make people think he was shooting a different choke. So what I mean by that is I don't mean he cut the bands off and there was just the silver recess. I mean he put different coloured bands on the chokes. So he was shooting 3/4 choke and he put skeet bands on. So people were going, oh, how's he shooting that with skeet? Spare parts box, very similar to a DT11. You get a set of firing pins, set of springs, a few extra beads and a spare trigger, which is interesting because you don't get one with a DT11, but you do get one with a DT10. Book of words. You know, I love some originality. Skeet vest badge, okay. Beretta team to go on your skeet vest as well. So you could go out on a Sunday morning knowing full well that you weren't part of the Beretta team because that you'd be sponsored otherwise. And we've also got a barrel sticker. Barrel stickers actually seem to become less popular. I can remember 15 years ago where everybody had them. They were covered in Ely stickers, Beretta stickers, Krieghoff stickers. These days, you don't really see them very much, to be honest with you. And again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. All important stop bolt tool. If you've got a stop bolt, put your stop bolt key up the back of your Beretta, Browning, whatever you've got periodically and give it a twist. It will prolong the life of your stock and ultimately your shotgun. So there you go. That is the Beretta DT10 Sporter. It's an absolute legend in clay shooting. Again, very popular with the game shooting fraternity, always had been. Good ones are getting scarce. You know, like I said, if you're looking at something maybe like a new 694, because they are kind of a similar price point, don't discount one of these. This gun has won an awful lot of medals worldwide. Like I said, it's got a huge following. It is an excellent, excellent bit of kit. Any questions about this gun, please contact me directly. The email address is on the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to check out the website. Any questions at all about any DT10, any DT11, any Beretta, I'll be more than happy to help. Don't forget to keep liking and subscribing to the channel because it does help and we do appreciate it. From me, Matthew Bourne with the Eastfield Gunroom and this legend of clay shooting, I'll see you next time.